The aroma of roasted coffee beans hung heavy in the air, a comforting warmth against the crisp autumn breeze filtering through the open doorway. Rain threatened the city, a grey veil drawn across the usually vibrant Manhattan skyline. I nestled deeper into the worn leather armchair, the familiar scent of old books and brewing dreams enveloping me. This little coffee shop tucked away on a quiet street corner was my haven, my escape from the city's relentless pace. Today it held a different kind of promise, a subtle hum of anticipation that had nothing to do with my usual caffeine fix. The bell above the door chimed, announcing a new arrival. I didn't bother looking up, too engrossed in the worn pages of my book. It was probably just another soul seeking refuge from the impending downpour, another face in the ever-changing tapestry of the city. Little did I know, this ordinary afternoon was about to take an extraordinary turn, unearthing memories I had long thought buried. The air shifted, a subtle change in the atmosphere, and a familiar scent tickled my senses, a mix of autumn leaves and the cologne he used to wear. My heart stuttered in my chest, a ridiculous, illogical reaction. It couldn't be, could it? Hesitantly, I lifted my gaze, my breath catching in my throat. Time stood still. It was him, Ethan. Years had passed, yet I'd recognize him anywhere. The tousled dark hair, the hint of mischief in his eyes, that shy, crooked smile that always made my heart skip a beat. He seemed taller now, broader, a maturity etched into his features that hadn't been there before. Gone was the lanky teenager with a head full of dreams. In his place stood a man, confident and undeniably handsome. He hadn't noticed me yet, his back to me, as he ordered his usual black coffee, 2 sugars. I remembered it as clearly as I remembered his birthday, a silly detail I thought I'd long forgotten. A wave of emotions washed over me. Surprise, disbelief, a flicker of the old excitement that used to course through me whenever he was near. What was he doing here after all these years? Fate, it seemed, had a funny way of playing its hand. "Emily!" His voice, a low rumble that sent shivers down my spine, broke through my reverie. He was looking at me now, his eyes widening with the same surprise I felt. Our eyes met, holding for a beat too long, a silent conversation passing between us, bridging the years that separated us. He looked different, older, yet the spark in his eyes, the one that always made him seem so alive, so captivating, remained unchanged. He walked towards me, that familiar gait, a slight bounce in his step, bringing back a rush of memories. Stolen glances across crowded hallways, shared laughter in the library, the lingering touch of his hand on mine during the senior prom slow dance. "Wow, it is you," he said, a smile spreading across his face, erasing the years and momentarily transporting us back to a time when life was simpler, full of possibilities. "I can't believe it. What are you doing here?" It was a simple question, yet it hung in the air between us, heavy with unspoken implications. We both knew this wasn't just a chance encounter. It was fate's way of offering us a second chance. Section 4. The Echoes of Laughter and Unspoken Words. He pulled up a chair, the years melting away as we fell into an easy conversation. We talked about our lives. His work as a photographer, my small bookstore on the other side of town. He laughed, that deep, resonant laugh that always made me want to join in, even when I didn't get the joke. I found myself studying him, noticing the way his eyes crinkled at the corners when he smiled, the way he still ran his hand through his hair when he was nervous. Habits he probably wasn't even aware of. It was as if no time had passed at all, yet everything was different. We were different. The awkward teenagers we once were had blossomed into adults, our lives filled with experiences that had shaped us, molded us into who we were today. But underneath it all, I sensed a familiarity, a connection that transcended time and distance. Every shared memory, every unspoken word from our past resonated in the space between us, creating a symphony of longing and regret. Section 5. The weight of what could have been. As the afternoon deepened and the rain began to fall in earnest, a comfortable silence settled between us. We watched as the city outside transformed into a watercolor painting of blurred lights and shimmering streets. My thoughts raced, a whirlwind of what-ifs and almost wheres. Why hadn't we stayed in touch after graduation? What would our lives have been like if we had taken a chance on the unspoken feelings that simmered between us? The weight of all we hadn't said, the dreams we hadn't shared, hung heavy in the air. A part of me wanted to rewind time, to go back to that carefree time when our biggest worry was who was taking whom to the prom. But another part, a wiser, more cautious part, knew that some chapters were meant to be closed, no matter how much we longed to rewrite the ending. Still, the warmth of his presence, the easy camaraderie we fell into so effortlessly, filled me with a bittersweet longing, a yearning for something I couldn't quite name.
The bell above the door chimed as Ethan pushed his way into Miller's convenience store. It was a Tuesday like any other Tuesday, hot and humid, the air thick with the smell of freshly cut grass and gasoline. He was on his usual coffee run, a daily ritual before disappearing into the whirlwind of summer school.
Summer school was a drag, a cruel twist of fate that forced me to spend my vacation catching up on chemistry.
Ethan shuffled past the aisles of brightly colored candy and chips, his eyes scanning the refrigerated section for his usual iced coffee. He sighed, the weight of impending exams settling heavily on his shoulders. Just as he reached for his coffee, a flash of color caught his eye. A girl, no, a vision, stood at the counter, her back to him. She was laughing at something the cashier, old Mr. Miller, had said. Her hair was the color of spun sunshine, cascading down her back in waves.
My heart skipped a beat.
Suddenly, the air felt electric. The mundane convenience store transformed into something magical. He forgot all about his coffee, his eyes glued to the girl who had, in that instant, stolen his breath away. He watched, mesmerized, as she tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear, her fingers delicate and graceful. She was wearing a sundress the color of the summer sky, her shoulders bare and tanned. Ethan found himself holding his breath, afraid to break the spell.
Can I help you, son?
Mr. Miller's voice startled him out of his trance. Ethan blinked, feeling his cheeks flush crimson. He mumbled an apology, grabbing the first coffee he could find, his hands clumsily fumbling with the lid.
Sorry, just this, please.
As he paid, his eyes darted back to the girl. She was now sipping on what looked like a caramel macchiato, her eyes sparkling with amusement as Mr. Miller recounted a story with theatrical flair. Ethan noticed the way her nose crinkled when she laughed, the way her eyes seemed to light up the entire store. He left the store in a daze, the taste of his own coffee lost on him.
I had a feeling I wouldn't be forgetting this Tuesday anytime soon. The girl, the caramel macchiato girl, as I had christened her in my mind, had left an imprint on my soul.
The next morning, Ethan found himself inexplicably drawn back to Miller's convenience store. He tried to rationalize it, telling himself he needed coffee, that it was on his way. But deep down, he knew the truth. He was hoping for another glimpse of the caramel macchiato girl. His heart pounded a frantic rhythm against his ribs as he pushed open the door. And there she was, like a dream come true, standing behind the counter, helping Mr. Miller.
She looked more radiant than ever.
She was wearing a simple white t-shirt and denim shorts, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. Ethan couldn't believe his luck. He pretended to browse the aisles, stealing furtive glances at her when he thought no one was looking. His mind raced, a jumbled mess of thoughts and emotions.
Who was she? What was her name? Did she come here often? And the most terrifying question of all, would she even give me the time of day?
Days turned into weeks, and Ethan's visits to Miller's convenience store became a cherished routine. He learned her name was Lily. He knew her usual order, a caramel macchiato with an extra shot of vanilla. He even managed to strike up a few conversations with her, brief and awkward exchanges that left him both exhilarated and wanting more. One afternoon, he found her alone behind the counter, Mr. Miller nowhere in sight. This was his chance. He took a deep breath and approached the counter, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest.
Hey, Lily.
His voice cracked slightly. She looked up, her eyes widening in surprise.
Oh, hi, Ethan.
She replied, a smile spreading across her face. Ethan felt a surge of hope. She remembered his name. They talked about nothing and everything, the summer heat, their favorite music, the upcoming town fair.
I learned she was an artist, spending her days lost in a world of color and canvas. I told her about my passion for photography, how I loved capturing the world through my lens.
Days later, Ethan found himself back at Miller's, his heart heavy. He'd seen Lily yesterday, but she'd been swamped with customers. He hadn't even had a chance to say hello. Now, he was back, hoping for a glimpse of her, a chance encounter, anything.
"She's not here, son," he said, his eyes twinkling. "Left you something, though."
Ethan's pulse quickened. He accepted the small folded piece of paper from Mr. Miller, his fingers trembling slightly. It was a simple note, written in a handwriting as graceful as Lily herself.
Meet me at the park across the street after my shift, Lily.
A wide grin spread across Ethan's face. She wanted to see him, outside of the confines of the convenience store, outside of their usual routine. He felt a surge of excitement, a nervous flutter in his stomach. This was it, his chance to finally tell her how he felt. The hours until Lily's shift ended dragged by with agonizing slowness. Ethan couldn't concentrate on anything. He paced his room, his mind replaying every interaction they'd ever had, every smile, every laugh. He just hoped he wouldn't make a fool of himself. He arrived at the park early, choosing a bench beneath a sprawling oak tree, its leaves rustling gently in the summer breeze. The park was relatively empty, a few kids playing on the swings, an elderly couple strolling hand in hand. Ethan checked his watch for the 100th time. 5 minutes. He ran a hand through his hair, trying to tame his nerves. What would he say to her? Would she feel the same way? Just when he thought he could bear the anticipation no longer, he saw her. Lily. She was even more radiant than he remembered, her hair bathed in the warm glow of the setting sun. She was wearing a pale yellow sundress, her eyes sparkling with a mixture of nerves and excitement. She spotted him sitting on the bench, and a shy smile spread across her face. Ethan's heart leaped into his throat. He stood up, his palms sweating, his mouth suddenly dry. Lily walked towards him, her steps hesitant at first, then gaining confidence with each passing moment. They stood there, for a heartbeat, just looking at each other. The world around them faded away, the sounds of the park, the laughter of children, all disappearing into a distant hum.
Hi, Lily said, her voice barely above a whisper.
Hi, Ethan replied, his voice equally soft.
Hum.
Hi, Lily said, her voice barely above a whisper.
Hi, Ethan replied, his voice equally soft.
And then, before either of them could say another word, a loud voice shattered the silence.
"Lily, there you are. I've been looking all over for you."
A tall, muscular boy, Ethan's age or maybe older, came bounding towards them, a wide grin plastered across his face. He had sandy blonde hair, piercing blue eyes, and an air of confidence that Ethan envied.
Jason, what are you doing here?
Jason slung an arm around Lily's shoulders, his eyes not even acknowledging Ethan's presence.
"My parents are out of town and I thought we could finally hang out, just the two of us."
Lily's cheeks flushed pink.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Ethan felt a pang of disappointment, a cold knot forming in his stomach. Of course, he should have known it was too good to be true. He was just the awkward boy from the convenience store, and she was, well, she was Lily. Just as Ethan was about to slip away unnoticed, Lily turned to him, her eyes filled with a mixture of apology and something else, something that looked a lot like regret.
Ethan, this is Jason. Jason, this is Ethan. We met at the store.
Jason finally acknowledged Ethan's presence, giving him a cursory nod.
"Right, so you coming, Lily?"
He was already leading her away, his hand possessively gripping her arm. Lily hesitated, her eyes flickering back to Ethan's.
Actually, Jason, I think I forgot something at the store. I'll catch up with you later, okay?
And with that, she turned and walked back towards Ethan, leaving a stunned and speechless Jason behind. Lily's eyes met Ethan's, a shy smile playing on her lips.
Sorry about that. Jason can be a bit much.
Ethan, still trying to process the fact that she had chosen him over Jason, managed a weak smile.
It's okay, so what did you forget?
Lily's smile widened.
Actually, I didn't forget anything. I wanted to talk to you.
And talk they did. They sat on the bench beneath the oak tree, long after the sun had set and the stars had begun to twinkle in the night sky. They talked about their dreams, their fears, their hopes for the future. Ethan learned that Lily had been crushing on Jason for years, but he was oblivious to her feelings. He also learned that she loved photography as much as he did, and that she thought his photos were amazing. As the night wore on, Ethan realized that what he felt for Lily was more than just a crush. It was something deeper, something real. He found himself drawn to her warmth, her kindness, her infectious laughter. With a deep breath and a heart full of hope, Ethan finally confessed his feelings for Lily. He told her about the first time he saw her at Miller's, about how she had captivated him with her sunshine smile and her caramel macchiato. To his surprise, Lily's eyes lit up, and she admitted that she had noticed him too.
I loved your quiet demeanor, your kind eyes, and the way you always seemed genuinely interested in what I had to say.
As they walked hand in hand through the moonlit park, Ethan knew that this was just the beginning of their story. A story that had started with a chance encounter at a small-town convenience store. A story that had blossomed into something sweet and pure and real. A summer love story, as magical and unexpected as the first fireflies of June.